limited series and stuff like that. How do you pick a jury? How do you find a jury pool that hasn't heard about this case or that can weigh in on this case without having any impressions of Alec Murdaugh or his family or any of the entire affair?
So what happens, and this is very critical, what happens is when you select a jury, the calculus and analysis is not whether you've heard about the case, do you have an opinion about the case, what do you think about the case, what are your views about the case, how much of YouTube did you see it on, how much did you watch CNN? The issue is, sir or ma'am, could you agree to put that aside and evaluate the case based upon what you hear in the courtroom, based upon what you see in the courtroom, based upon the evidence that is presented? And if it's presented strongly enough, do you agree, sir, ma'am, to vote for the prosecution because you'd conclude that he's guilty? In the event, however, that you conclude that the evidence in the courtroom, not based on your opinion, is of a value that it doesn't establish his guilt, he'd be not guilty. Could you agree with that? So that's really the analysis when you're selecting a juror. Unless you're under a rock nowadays, Boris, you've heard something, because we are in such a social media sensationalized society. If you're not watching it on TV, it's certainly there, right? And so I think that if there is a retrial, that certainly is going to factor into it. And if a juror says, no, I have opinions, he's guilty, they're not going to be paneled because they're going to be challenged for cause. In the event, however, that a jury concludes that, you know what, I'm good and everybody has their opinion, I have mine, I could serve, then they'll serve. But this is an important decision, and I should also briefly note that the court was somewhat concerned also because the case became all about his financial crimes, and it was sort of like, wait a minute, are we on trial for murder of his two family members, or is this a case about financial fraud? And so the court, in its analysis and an opinion, said you got to limit that, court, moving forward. Yes, you can put some of that out there, but when does it become a case about he's a bad guy, convict him, as opposed to he's a murderer, because that's what we're here for. Always have to keep your eye on the prize when you have a case before court and before jury.
A case like this one, especially, the saga continues. Joey Jackson, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Okay, let's see here.
What can we
David case as well. Updates on this.
expect from the David defense team? How will they challenge the prosecution's evidence? What will be the defense for the serious charges of murder and sexual abuse and mutilation of human remains when it comes to the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez? He is represented by a very high-powered attorney. What can we expect? Let's talk about it. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Something we haven't yet explored in depth, we talked about it a little bit, want to do a full episode on it, is the potential defenses in the David case. What are his defenses to the crimes that he's charged with? In other words, how can his defense attorney, Blair Burke, challenge the potential evidence against him? And to be clear, too, I don't know for sure what's going to be argued. I don't have like a crystal ball. I don't have an insight. I'm not friends with Blair Burke. But this is at least what I speculate may be going on. This is what I know I'm going to be looking out for as this case progresses. And just to give you an idea about where we are right now. So the 21-year-old romantic homicide singer, real name David Anthony Burke, is facing charges of first-degree murder, continuous sexual abuse of a child under 14, and unlawful mutilation of human remains, all in connection with the tragic, brutal death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
And guys, we're gonna cover the debate with Akademiks and Sneako after this. So don't worry. And we also covered a little bit of the Alex Murdaugh stuff. And we turned the J2 back on just temporarily. You guys know I hate this platform. We're not gonna be on here long.
His decomposed, dismembered body was found in a Tesla out in Los Angeles back on September 8th of last year. A Tesla reportedly registered to David, the singer, out in Texas. And remember, his family lives there too. And prosecutors have alleged special circumstances with respect to the murder charge. The reason that's significant is because that's what gets you the elevated penalty, life in prison without the possibility of parole, potentially the death penalty, even though prosecutors haven't announced that they're going forward with the death penalty, and even though there's a moratorium on executions out in California. But what are the special circumstances allegations? What is this? Murder of a witness, murder for financial gain, lying in wait. They talk about using a deadly and dangerous weapon, a sharp instrument. Medical examiner's office concluded that Celeste's cause of death was multiple penetrating injuries. That David...
All right, so you guys were watching on Kick and you guys went over? Motherfuckers. Someone said Al Myron. Okay, bro. Enjoy the Shadow Realm. See you YouTube niggas, bro. I don't like y'all, man. Like I don't fuck with y'all niggas, man. Enjoy Shadow Realm, bro.
Time to send you to the Shadow Realm. The future is mine.
His name is Joshua369. Niggas puts Al Myron in the chat like I'm about to just sit here and let you just say that shit. Enjoy the Shadow Realm, bro.
Allegedly murdered Celeste to keep her quiet. That they were in this.
Yes, I covered Trump in China. It's on Kick Perez 15 whatever. Guys, I don't stream on YouTube like that anymore. You guys should know this at this point. Like, I don't fuck with YouTube. I don't like YouTube. I only go on here just so you guys know that I'm live, and then I get the fuck off. Okay?
Alleged illegal sexual relationship. Remember her being a minor. That they have what they claim are text messages from the night before she died or allegedly died. They say April 23rd is when she was killed. That show they were fighting, that she was.
Somebody are called Frank Amut. Enjoy the Shadow Realm, bro.
Time to send you to the Shadow Realm. The future is mine.
Going to expose him. That she was going to ruin his financially lucrative.
Oh, yeah, and don't forget, we got 2 of them gone.
Double kill.
Career, and then he murdered her. Prosecutors claim that on April 23rd, 2025, he lured Celeste to his home, stabbed her repeatedly, watched her bleed out, and then proceeded to order all these supplies online to engage.
Sorry, niggas. I got what the fuck?
In the dismemberment of her body and the cover-up of the alleged crime. Chainsaws, body bag, laundry bags, inflatable pool. They claim a combination of surveillance footage, cellular data, DNA evidence, witness testimony, all tie him to these alleged crimes. And right now, as we reported yesterday, his preliminary hearing has been moved to the end of June. It has been delayed once again, so the defense has more time to analyze the evidence, prepare their arguments at a preliminary hearing, and by all accounts, they are going to continue to get this evidence as it comes in from the prosecution. So we go back to the main focus here, right? What are David's defenses? And yes, he is innocent until proven guilty. These are just allegations. And also to be clear, I am not even saying that we're going to see these defenses at a preliminary hearing per se. This is going to be more about what we can expect at trial. Because here's the truth. I spoke to attorney Alexandra Kazarian last night on my News Nation show, Jesse Weber Live, and the preliminary hearing is just for the defendant, she said, and I think it's a really good point, to strategize, to test, to see a sampling of what the...
Yeah, and also so that they can question witnesses on cross-examine. That's another thing as well that they're absolutely going to try to do. So...
prosecution's evidence is. Start challenging their witnesses. Start coming up with a defense. Because, look, here's the deal. Preliminary hearing, by all accounts, given what we've seen so far, and if we assume the prosecution has this kind of evidence that they claim they have in their pretrial brief, the court is probably going to say there's sufficient evidence to move forward with this case, because the prosecution doesn't even have to present all of their evidence at prelim. Just the minimum necessary to establish probable cause that David committed these crimes. Sufficient evidence for the case to move forward to trial. That's a very low bar. So I don't think David is going to go into that preliminary hearing currently scheduled for...
Yeah, they just want to look at some of the witnesses, grill some of the witnesses, etc.
the end of June, thinking, yeah, I'm going to get the case thrown out. But remember, this is just all what the prosecution claims they have, but I think it's going to be a test. So when I talk about the defenses, the actual substantive defenses, I think you see this more after the preliminary hearing. Just one more thing about that. Yeah, again, what you hear from the prosecution are allegations. This is what they claim they have. We will see. But again, let's talk about the defense. That's what I want to get into. And even before I get into the defense, who's his attorney? Blair Burke. I talk so much about her. So she is a renowned attorney in Los Angeles. Harvard educated, very well experienced, reportedly an attorney to the stars.
Is that her with CeeLo? Is that CeeLo right there, chat? What the hell? Fat ass CeeLo?
For example, represented Mel Gibson during his 2006 DUI arrest, 2011 in connection with the domestic abuse episode, represented Lindsay Lohan through a drug and DUI case in 2007, represented Harvey Weinstein in 2017 on the sex abuse case, represented Britney Spears, Kanye West, reportedly Leonardo DiCaprio, Channing Tatum, Johnny Depp. In fact, before we even get to the actual defenses and that whole discussion, give you a sampling. Here is Blair Burke in court representing David in one of his initial appearances.
From the Media reports, apparently there have been 4 months of secret grand jury proceedings. We believe that Mr. Burke is entitled at the earliest opportunity to an open preliminary hearing and the proceedings not be done in secret. So we are asking for a preliminary hearing to be set at the earliest.
And remember, guys, they didn't indict him, so he's entitled to a preliminary hearing. Now, you guys that watched earlier, I explained to you guys how you're able to get access to preliminary hearing, and he counts for one now because they never actually indicted him. So he can absolutely, he is entitled to a preliminary hearing right now.
Triple kill.
Possible date on the 10th day. Your Honor, we believe the actual evidence will show David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez, nor was he the cause of her death. And we would like to be able to have the evidence come into the light of day at the earliest opportunity in order to establish that. We're asking for April 23rd as a 3 of 10, Your Honor.
Okay, so let's get into the possible defenses. And I want to start with the big one. Cause of death and manner of death.
And it just got pushed, guys, to, it just got pushed to June. So it's no longer going to be in May.
Death. You just heard it a little bit right there in that clip, right? This is what the prosecution is relying on. If you go back to the autopsy report, if you go back to the ME's findings, this ME report, this summary, quote, death was pronounced at the scene. Autopsy examination was limited by extensive post-mortem changes. Keep that in mind. There are 2 penetrating wounds of the torso with smooth edges that may represent sharp force injuries. The wound on the upper abdomen penetrates the liver, and the wound on the left chest penetrates one of the left intercostal spaces with disruption of the adjacent ribs' cortical surfaces. The left lung appears intact. The bilateral upper and lower extremities show full
I'm getting a Halo 2 sound effects for you ninjas.
Thickness dismemberment. Multiple other skin and soft tissue defects are present without apparent associated internal injuries. The etiology of these defects is not clearly apparent due to severe postmortem changes. Postmortem toxicology performed on liver tissue shows the presence of a low level of ethanol, which may be due to postmortem.
Real quick, Chaz, is this the same?
Triple kill. Triple kill. Triple kill. Triple kill.
That shit trash.
Triple kill. Triple kill. Triple kill.
Interesting.
Changes or ingestion and does not appear to be contributory to the cause of death. Given the history and circumstances as currently known by me in the setting of the findings by examination, ancillary studies, and in the absence of other definitive causes of death, the cause of death is multiple penetrating injuries. The manner of death is classified as homicide. And by the way, manner of death could be, homicide, suicide, accident, natural causes. If you ask me, what is the defense going to do? Challenge that. They're going to challenge, in my view, the cause of death, maybe the manner of death, by highlighting there is a severe level of decomposition and dismemberment. How can you know for sure what killed Celeste, given the state of her remains? I mean, the report itself at times notes how the examination was affected by the condition of this 14-year-old's body. I don't want to say it. I hate saying this, but that's what we're dealing with. I mean, her mutilated remains. I mean, you just heard what Blair Burke said in court, and it echoes a statement that originally came out when David was arrested, that the evidence will show he didn't murder Celeste and not the cause of her death. Now, I actually asked forensic death investigator, the host of the Body Bags podcast, Joseph Scott Morgan, about this. Take a listen.
I think that the one thing about it is you're going to have a forensic pathologist that has a very strong background. Most do, all right, in decomposed bodies. But you're going to have a defense pathologist that can at least insert that seed for reasonable doubt.
Yeah, we watched this as well. I'll say this, man. The prosecution is very confident. They're over here saying he watched her bleed out is the allegation that the prosecution gave. Okay, which is kind of insane. Kind of insane, chat.
Relative to the level of decomposition. I think that that's really the only intellectual underpinning that you have. If you're trying to make that argument that you guys do in court, right? That's where you're going to go. They're going to have to lean into the decomposition. I know that sounds so bizarre, but for me, there's so much other evidence, digital evidence, circumstantial evidence, testimonial stuff that's going on, in addition to the physical evidence that they have. This is a mountain. I mean, it's a mountain. I've seen, cases with much less forensic evidence that have not gone well for the defendant. Decomposition, though.
Have all this. Quote, tellingly, defendants subsequently purchased tools to carry out.
This obviously makes him look bad. Days after the murder, obviously, he got like shovels and all this other shit.
His plot to dismember and dispose of the victim's body. On April 24th, 2025, defendant ordered a shovel from Home Depot that was delivered to his home from Postmates. On May 1st, 2025, defendant ordered and subsequently Amazon delivered 2 chainsaws to his home. On May 5th,
Yo, that's crazy. Ordering chainsaws to your house, like, nigga, what?
2025. Defendant ordered and Amazon subsequently delivered a body bag, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a blue inflatable pool to his home. He made these purchases under the fake name Victoria Mendez. On May 8th, 2025, defendant returned to the same area in Santa Barbara County, leaving his home around 11:30 p.m. He returned to the area again on May 31st, 2025. This is an isolated site off SR 154 where the victim's identification was subsequently discovered in January 2026. Additionally, on July 7th, 2025, defendant ordered and subsequently Amazon delivered a burn cage to his home under the same fake name.
It's crazy.
As part of his plan to incinerate evidence. That's tricky for the defense. Do they say, well, look, I don't know how we can argue against those purchases at those times. I mean, I guess they could say, how do you know for sure David was the one who made those purchases? Do they look at other potentially strange purchases he's made over the years? Do they say, hey, this was for other purposes, a music video? Strange timing of that, right? Considering if they say she was killed April 23rd and then all of these very specific items are ordered and delivered. And again, they say that she arrived at his place April 23rd, that she's killed shortly after she arrives. There's no more cell phone use by her after that, and then he buys all this stuff. Or do they admit it? Do they say, yeah, he bought this stuff, and yes, he bought this stuff to get rid of Celeste's body?
Guys, smash the like button for me, by the way. Smash the like button for me. Let's get to 500 likes. We got 700 you guys watching. We're going to get into the Sneako debate here in a second.
Will even admit this, again, from the prosecution's brief. Moreover, defendant took horrifying measures to destroy and discard the victim's body. After placing her body into the blue inflatable pool to prevent her blood from spilling onto his garage floor, defendant used a chainsaw and perhaps other tools to cut off her limbs. Small blue plastic fragments were found embedded in the victim's remains, which were collected by the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Department. The fragments were analyzed by the LAPD's Forensic Science Division Trace Analysis Unit. An expert was able to make a physical fit match from the blue fragments to the blue inflatable pool purchased by defendant.
And it says, watch this video of a based Chinese guy. Okay, it's Leo Kings. Hey, Ryan, I apologize for what I sent earlier of watching a video before sending it. It's my fault. I was at work, but I respect you a lot. Yeah, nigga, you're retarded for that. Chat, call him a retard. Leo Kings, you got to get cooked for that, bro. Never do that again, bro. Never, ever fucking do that again. Send a video without watching yourself. You deserve to get absolutely cooked for that. They gave us, like, fucking clickbait Twitter garbage. CIA raided DNI office while president out of the country? I don't believe that. Give us a link. Hey, Ryan, a little bit off topic, but did you notice that Netanyahu admitted to Israel having nukes in a 60-minute interview? We all know they do. We cover Tucker debating Kevin O'Leary, or should I watch on my own time debating AI? Watch it on your own time, nigga. Nobody has any interest on that. Nobody cares what Kevin O'Leary got to say as a Canadian, bro. Hope you get Myron. I know you said charge trial would take time to start. How much more time do you think? It's going to be end of the year. David says, I see you're giving Abba the cow the Ted Bundy treatment. Deplete us longer. Arrogant once to 2 days recover. Yeah, we're going to destroy him, bro. Abba destroys all the fair. It deserves all the fares that come his way, bro. He's such a fucking idiot, dude.
In May 2020.
Yeah, Leo Kings, we got to bully you for a little bit for that, bro. We got to bully you for that. Okay? Guys watching on YouTube, smash the like button.
25. In order to distance himself from the victim, he amputated her left ring and pinky fingers because her ring finger contained a tattoo of his name. Her fingers have not been recovered. Defendant then placed her head and torso into the cadaver bag that he purchased. He placed her limbs into a garbage bag, which he deposited into his front trunk, laying the cadaver bag on top. For several weeks or possibly months, defendant left the victim's body to decompose inside his Tesla. And the list of potential evidence, they say, DNA evidence developed from bloodstains collected from defendant's garage, which match the victim's genetic profile, proof of defendant's Amazon purchases and deliveries to his residence, including 2 chainsaws, a body bag, an inflatable pool, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a burn cage after April 24th, 2025. And by the way, private investigator Steve Fisher, who's been on top of this case, he shared photos of some of those alleged packages, and you can see the deliveries are addressed to Victoria Mendez, so it's, again, unclear why David would allegedly use that particular name. But again, does he choose to admit all this? That could be very hard to argue against, particularly if they can match these items that were with Celeste's body to the ones that were actually purchased. Right? It's not like he just bought, an inflatable pool or bought these bags and the ones that are associated with her remains are completely different. But does he admit all this? Quote, proof of defendant's purchase and delivery from Postmates of a shovel from Home Depot to his home on April 24th. Uber records showing defendant's transaction where he ordered an Uber to pick up the victim from her.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one right there, that he sent her an Uber.
Lake Elsinore home and transporter to his residence the night of April 23rd, 2025.
And they never saw her since.
When LAPD served the search warrant at the home that David was renting after Celeste was identified, they reportedly found all sorts of evidence in the garage. I said this, right? The biological testing. But there was also the inflatable pool, which reportedly had multiple linear cuts. So does he admit all this? Does he not fight it? Instead, do his defense attorneys say, yep, he purchased this stuff after prosecutors claim she died, but it doesn't mean that he's responsible for her death, that maybe she died in another way, and that he panicked, and that he tried to cover this up, and that he was just part of her disposal.
That's what I think they're going to try to spin. I do think that his defense team is going to try to spin it where, look, my client didn't kill her. He found her dead, and in a panic, he tried to clean it up. I think that's what his defense is honestly going to try, chat. That's what I think they're going to try. So, we'll see.
Or helped with the disposal.
We'll see.
I've seen cases like that before, different circumstances. James Scandarito, though, Florida, found not guilty of the murder of his father, but guilty in connection with the dismemberment. Took the stand, explained.
Yep. It's possible, chat. Very, very possible.
It was a disgusting story, but the jury believed it. So in other words, will we ever really know what happened to her? And again, if they can show that her body was too decomposed, dismembered to know exactly what the cause of death is, they admit to...
Guys, it's important for you guys to realize when they found her body, it was cut up in pieces, like her head was cut off, her finger was cut off. They had the David tattoo on it, which I thought was kind of crazy. And the body was badly decomposed. So they found it 5 months after the fact, okay? She died in April. They didn't find her until September of 2025.
To him panicking that she died, they come up with a narrative about how
literally 5 months later
she died or the circumstances regarding her death, and he panicked and just got rid of her body. I mean, if he did that, he'd be found guilty of that unless he pleads guilty to that, and you're looking at prison time. I will also say...
Yeah, but he's not looking at the death penalty or life in prison. Moving a body around, covering up evidence, etc. Yeah, he'll get some time for that, but he's not going to get life or the death penalty, which is what they're pushing for.
That defense attorneys will find any way to find chain of custody issues and contamination of evidence in any case. So just taking a step back.
Absolutely, they're going to try to do that. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's not even a question. Not even a question. That's what they're going to try to do.
They may not admit to any of this. They may say there's problems in how all of this evidence was collected and processed. Any opening to say the forensic findings are not accurate, like the...
Don't forget, guys, this is how OJ got off. Chain of custody problems, okay?
The DNA or the pool fragments that, again, wasn't handled or processed correctly. That's common. We see that almost in every case. So that's putting law enforcement under the hot lamp during cross-examination, questioning the findings. But if you can show the jury that the official findings might be tainted, that they're not accurate, that is key. Now, I don't know if that's the case here, but calling out something to look out for. And while I'm laying out what we can expect to see, again, I think there could be a real argument and strategy is, look, the mutilation charge is what it is. And there are other areas to chip away at, too, if we're talking about reasonable doubt, other places for reasonable doubt. Because according to the prosecution's brief, they say surveillance video and other...
Yeah, because they're going to need to prove that he actually killed her, chat.
Evidence
And remember, the burden of proof is on the state. It's not on David. It's on the state. Smash the like button for me, ninjas.
Confirmed, defendant was the last person to drive the vehicle on July 29th, 2025, before he left Los Angeles on a concert tour. Okay. Now, the defense...
And that vehicle is the one that had the body in it. Even then, he could say, I didn't kill her, though. I didn't kill her.
His natural question could be, sure, but did anyone else move it after that? How do you know? Her body wasn't reportedly found until September in that car. Who else had access to that car at that time? Who else could have had access?
Several months.
Potentially to Celeste's remains. I mean, the filing states that David lied to friends, business associates, and others about the strong smell of decay in and around the home and the car. The defense will very much cross-examine those witnesses about it. Question those conversations. Question what David really said or didn't say. Raise hearsay objections. And another way to look at it is it could be very difficult for defense attorneys to say that he was completely in the dark and had no idea what was happening, although... is it possible someone else is involved, had access to the car? And if you do that, that changes the story. It goes to this idea of who may be a cooperating witness as well. And if someone took an immunity deal to testify against David...
Yeah, because the prosecution did say that he watched her bleed out. That's a very specific statement to make. That's a very specific statement to make.
That is prime ground for attack by defense under cross-examination. Why do you need protection?
OG Ninja Watcher, appreciate you for the gifted sub, my friend. For all you guys that are watching on Kick, make sure to follow the channel. We do it all over here. We do politics, true crime. We covered the China spy. We covered the David case. We're going to cover this debate right now. Matter of fact, I should probably switch to it soon. It's already 9:47. So let's go ahead and just get right into it.
When guys is spit, I want him to like what happened.
The builder to get some technical advice.
Yeah, the white man knows how to fix it, right?
I can't hear you now. No,
All right, I can hear you. Yeah. So what's good, my nigga? How you feeling?
Listen, we listen. I think we might have to bring it to a poll. Sneako, you got to stick to like some Islam stuff and overseas, brother. Like when it comes to, you know, we're in a very interesting. While most of your streams is about what the hell Trump is doing and what the fuck is going on over Iran and them bullshit ass countries like Israel. We don't give a damn about none of them. They all could go to hell. What we care about is what's going on over here. And right now, race relations within this country is at a point that is much better than years previous. And when we see an antagonist, I think that every race should come together and say, let's get this piece of shit out of the paint quickly, that we don't go down a spiraling downward path like what happened when the BLM movement had to, you know, quote unquote, just jump out the blue. And we all seen some of the errors with that. But right now, we don't need some nigga named ChudTheBuilder popping up doing all the dumb shit. Let's get this nigga out the paint.
That's why I don't understand why I don't understand why, in the words of ChudTheBuilder, they're saying you're chipping out. I'm joking, but what did I say that you're upset about? I told them to stop doing the IRL streams like that, and it's a bad idea. So what's the problem?
I want him to continue.
So you want something violent to happen? I don't want violence.
No.
I'm love speech. I don't want to see people antagonizing one another. I don't want to see hate. I don't want to see something bad happen. So I said you should probably go inside. It's going to end up bad. You can antagonize someone. Someone's going to act in a way. It's just a bad idea.
I'm not saying I want him to stop because of violence happening. I want it, based on what he's saying he's down to stand on whatever he's down to he's been saying. I actually believe if something was going to happen to him, it would probably be a Caucasian that would probably hurt him. You know, usually when guys are spitting all of that political stuff, I don't see a lot of black people. You know what I mean? Look at Charlie Kirk. Who clapped him? Mm-hmm. Look at all these who keep trying to shoot at Trump. It's the white dude. So when he's talking about First Amendment right, and he's basically also saying, hey, he got his Second Amendment right. To me, that's political. He says he's a free speech advocate. Black people usually mind their business, okay? If they have issues with people that are in their vicinity over actual things that, you know, would make sense for interpersonal issues. This guy is talking politics, and just look at the people who've been smoking the politicians.
Okay, that's very true. That white people don't get blamed.
So I think the person
that's 100%
who
true.
handle him would be white, but I'm not saying that he should continue that because I'm like, hey, listen.
Do you think something violent? Do you think he should be handled violently?
I think he encourages it.
But you're not answering the question.
What?
Do you think that somebody should do something violent to him?
No, but okay. I think they should meet him with the energy that he has.
That's why I'm saying that's why I told him. I don't know why you're upset. I told him you should stop doing these.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think you know, I think if you just ignore him and walk away, that's the best thing you can do. Like, like for example, let's say I'm walking down the street, right, and some dude is recording, right, and he's trying to get a reaction, whatever. It's like, am I gonna buy into the you know, to the anger and like let them get content? Like, no, I'm just gonna walk away. Just don't engage. That's it. Just don't engage and walk away, bro. And the problem is solved. That's how you deal with it. Just don't engage.
IRL streams.
They should tell him to stop the rhetoric.
We should disarm the meanings of the...
Guys, smash that like button, by the way. Smash that like button.
These words. We can't let words like that control us. Why is that the only word where people feel justified in America to act violently over? There's no other word in the English language that elicits the same reaction that that word does.
So I'm not going to defend acting violent over a word.
Okay.
We can't repurpose history, right? And that word is. But
we do all the time. We do all the time. The word retard doesn't mean the same thing. The word dumb doesn't mean the same thing. Even the word nigga doesn't mean the same thing. Black people have used it colloquially, and now that's a perfect. That actually the word you're talking about has been repurposed to be a term of endearment, to mean anything.
Sneako. What I'm saying is that you can't repurpose history.
But black people did. Nigga has been repurposed. It was a word to mean slave, and now it means anything.
Sneako, you're being obtuse.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
No, the way he's saying what he's saying is a direct callback to slavery, brother. Like if you think it's not like he's saying it meaning something else. We know what he means. So you're trying to make this point like, oh, nigga has been repurposed. Is that what he's saying? Is he like, oh, what up, my nigga? Is that what he's saying? Or is he actually saying that, hey, you're a lesser human being, and I'm using this word to remind you of that? Mm-hmm. You tell me what he's saying.
He is saying that, but it only has that meaning
So why do we need to repurpose what he's saying?
Because
someone walked in. So what's it called? That's why Frank barked. Sorry, Chad. He never barks ever. He's only barking because somebody walked in.
Because we shouldn't let words control us.
It's not.
Now look, I see Akademiks' point, right? He's arguing that the word has historical context, extremely negative historical context, and I get that. But let's be honest here, Ak. The niggas that are reacting to this don't even know how to spell history. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep it a million. Let's keep it all the way a million. The dudes that are going crazy, the people that are pissed off, the people that are losing their minds, niggas can't even spell history, bro. Okay? We're talking about a lot of stupid ass niggas, man, that are going crazy about this shit. The people that are smart enough have the ability to look at it and be like, all right, this word has a negative historical context, but I have the IQ to understand that reacting to this is not intelligent. And I'm going to control my emotions, right? Someone said L taken here. Nobody gives a fuck about your opinion, bro. Like, nigga, nobody's here to listen to your opinion, nigga. Get the fuck out of here. Dude's name is Thugnificent 77. Yeah, we already know what race you are.
Hello, monkeys.
The fuck out my chat, nigga.
Time to send you to the Shadow Realm. The future is mine.
Fucking idiot. L take Myron. Nobody gives a fuck what you got to say, Tyrone. Fuck out of here. Dude's name is Thugnificent. Shut the fuck up, retard.
Hello, monkeys.
You're watching me, nigga. Nobody's watching you. Shut the fuck up.
Not about words controlling us, right? So you're now talking about actions. I'm talking.
These stupid ass pro black niggas come in here like I give a fuck about their opinion. Get sent to the shadow realm, nigga. Nobody cares. Okay? Seriously.
Double kill.
Enjoy the shadow realm, the watermelon realm, in your case. Okay? The fried chicken corner.
Talking about the word first of all. So you're basically admitting that he's antagonizing, right, race relations by trying to bring up a time or a he's trying to treat black people as subhuman by how he's speaking to them.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're saying, okay, even if he's doing that, we should just not be violent.
You could no. What I'm saying is,
well, you got to
the violent part. We agree on the violent thing, but you could only get rage baited if you get rage baited. You could only allow this word to have that power if you agree to that frame.
And here again, bro, it comes back to the accountability of the people that hear the word. Okay, if you're going that nuts over hearing a word, like, bro, I'm sorry, like, life is way harder than hearing the N-bomb being dropped, okay? Like, life was way harder than that, bruh. If that's the hill that you want to die on, that's what you want to be mad about, that's what you want to go crazy about, like, bro, life is way harder than that, man. Way harder than that. Also, let's deal with the elephant in the room, bro. Let's deal. You know, I'm still on YouTube. I can't say it. Let's go back to the debate. I'll deal with the elephant in the room here in a second. All right, we're not gonna be on YouTube that much longer because obviously I can't even say what I really want to say. So let's keep going.
We should repurpose this word so that we can't be controlled by them anymore. The same reason retard has been repurposed, nigga has been repurposed, dumb, even the word Negro used to be the correct word to call a black person, but it became a slur because it reminds us of a time of civil rights. Now it is a slur, but at the time, in the 60s and the 50s, Negro wasn't a slur. Even back then, in slavery time, it wasn't a slur. That was the word for black people. It became a slur because times changed.
All right, let me repeat again. I'm going to go slow this time because I see you're trying to get your point off without actually engaging.
I heard what you said. He's bringing back, he's talking about a time
hold on.
where it was degrading and he's calling people subhuman.
Hold on. His intention, let's not say, oh, let's take the power out of the word. Because if we took the power out of that word, he would use whatever word that had the power.
That's the only word that has that power. That's the only word that has that power.
Brother, if he had to call you a slave, he would just say slave. Come on. The point is, his goal is to offend. Let's stop acting like his goal is to say a word and we're triggered by the word.
You're right.
Right?
I agree.
So, okay. So now that we agree on that, now we could get to what is the appropriate response? In a very civilized and perfect world, there is no violence when someone is either
Some stupid nigga in my YouTube chat. Myron doesn't know how to run YouTube. All he does is react. Bro, get the fuck out of my chat, bro. Get the fuck out of here, you stupid ass nigga, bro.
Time to send you to the shadow realm. The future is mine.
Bro, I've been on for like 5 hours, nigga. I've been cooking the whole time. I do monologues. I react to news. I cover it all. Shut your dumb monkey ass up, bro. Get the fuck out of here.
Double kill.
use an oppressive language or either is trying to oppress. But let me ask you, since you're a big fan of religion, religious wars are some of the most violent wars in history. You don't think that's where, at some point, even in religion, it gets to violence, right? Wars?
Yeah, I mean, the most violence has been pushed for religion, for religious purposes. This is true.
Going on over there in was it Gaza and Iran and Israel? It gets to violence. So I get what you're saying.
That's not a fair comparison. There's a difference
over there,
between.
They fighting too.
Okay,
at some point it gets to violence.
Okay,
that's what I'm saying.
that comparison doesn't make sense. It didn't start based off of words. The genocide in Gaza didn't start because they said you're a terrorist. It started.
Words could be oppressive. Hold on, could words be oppressive?
If you let them. Bombs are really oppressive. Like bombs, ethnic cleansing, starvation, that's oppressive. Words are only oppressive if you allow them to be. You can't get rage baited if you aren't angry about it.
Despite the meaning, let me ask you a question. Like, if you go back, back, you know, in the original.
All right, guys, I'm gonna switch off YouTube because I want to be able to say something right now and I can't say it on YouTube. So we're gonna switch over to YouTube. We're also gonna cover the Chud shooting as well, which I can't cover that on YouTube either. So I'm going to end YouTube. We're going to continue the debate, but I have something I want to say here when it comes to this whole situation, because there's an elephant in the room that no one is addressing, okay? There's an elephant in the room that no one is addressing, which I'm going to bring up right now, okay? And a lot of niggas are not going to like to hear this, but I'm going to have to say it because everybody else is too scared to say it. So I'm just going to say what it is. Somebody, of course, we got a black dude in here saying monkey gains X. Okay, bro. Enjoy the shadow realm, bro. Enjoy it. Fried chicken connoisseur.
Time to send you to the shadow realm. The future is mine.
Like, bro, enjoy. Now you're in the shadow watermelon realm for being a moron. Congratulations. You played yourself, dummy. Okay? Congratulations. So stupid. Yeah, come on over to Kick, guys. Kick.com/MarkGainsX. I'm getting off YouTube because obviously I can't say what I'm going to say here, but I'm going to have to say some real shit that nobody's admitting and nobody's saying. Okay? So come on over to Kick. Kick.com/MarkGainsX. We got roughly another hour or so of streaming, as you guys know. We got after hours at 11, so I'm about to cook here. Come on over, ninjas. Come on over. Getting off of YouTube right now. Kick.com/MarkGainsX. It's pinned in the chat. Okay.